Hi everyone. So basically what I'm going to do today is explain to you how to do an identification question. Your exam should be up any moment now, and so I'm just going to tell you what we're expecting from you when you do an identification question, and basically how we're going to look at it. Essentially there are 5 sections of answers that you're going to need to do. The first 4 are pretty simple, self-explanatory, the sort of basics of what you need to do. So I'm going to break this down by using one example, being the Peace of Westphalia. So first, think about who this is. Now again, on these first 4, we're really looking for the basics here. We don't need you to be super specific, and so when we're asking who, we're going to be looking for something like the leaders of European nations. And more thinking about less of specific names and more of the countries that they are. So looking for European leaders of places like Germany and Spain and France and Sweden. And then we're going to be looking at where. So essentially we'll be looking for Europe, or more specifically Germany. But Europe is essentially fine in this case. And then we're looking at when. So the specific date would be somewhere between 1646 and 1648, but you can just say 1600s and you'll be fine. As long as you have the right century, we're okay with that. And so finally, the basics ends with the what. And so essentially that's just the textbook definition of what this is. And so essentially you would say something like, it is a peace agreement between various states in Europe which substantively ended the 30 Years' War and the interstate religious fractionalization of Europe in the 17th century. That's a very textbook definition. It's something you can find when you're on MindTap and just searching through the textbook for the term Peace of Westphalia. So finally, the last thing you're going to want to look at is the significance. Now it's important to remember that the significance is much different than the what. The what is the sort of textbook definition of the ID. But the significance is more sort of looking at why is this important. In this case, we're looking at not just why it's important to the countries of Europe, but why is it important historically. So I told you in the what that it's ended the 30 Years' War. So you're going to want to explain what the 30 Years' War was and how it came to be. And so you're going to explain not just the fact that it was this interstate religious war in Germany, but that it's the culmination of the religious fractionalization of Europe coming from the Protestant Reformation. So that's a little bit of the historical context. And then sort of what does this mean? What happened because of the Peace of Westphalia? And so that's when you're going to explain that the Peace of Westphalia led to a peace in Europe. It led to all of the wars in Europe essentially coming to an end, and it sort of led to some stability. So what does that mean? That means that the stability in Europe means those countries in Europe were allowed to not just sort of stand pat, but they were able to start the Atlantic trade routes. They're looking for routes in Asia. They're looking for routes to what is now the United States. It allows them to sort of explore the world because they don't have to worry about being at war with each other now. And so that's the sort of significance there. That it's not just what the peace agreement is, but why does it matter? What does this lead to? And so that's the sort of thing that you're not really going to find in your textbook. You're going to have to look in the lectures to find that. And so that's sort of my advice to you, is to not just look at the textbook, where you can find the who, the what, and the when, and the where. That's sort of easy to find. But when you're looking for the significance, which is worth the most points, you're going to look at the lectures. And so that's my advice to you. I wish all of you luck on your exam, and I can't wait to grade them.